Hello, welcome back to another video. I've just returned home to the UK from Girona in Spain, where I was taking on the Traka 540. Now the Traka is Europe's biggest gravel race, and this year they've introduced what they've called it the Traka Adventure, or the Traka 540. Last year, 2024, was actually supposed to be the first edition. However, they cancelled it because of heavy rain. So this year was actually the first running of the event. So yeah, I was over there to take it on, and yeah, this is my report on the event. Now, normally I would do a bit more of a kind of in-depth report about the entire race, but to be quite honest, the Traka wasn't that good, and I don't really know what was going on. So it's going to be more of a kind of a reflection of sort of my race and kind of those in the immediate vicinity around me. But hopefully I can give a good insight into the route, and maybe see if it's something you might want to do in the future. I'd say it's probably quite a good. I mean, if you've done a lot of gravel racing and you maybe want to get into ultra racing, it's quite a good stepping stone. So yeah, so this is my report, and I'll just briefly go through the results. So the winner was Victor Bozzoni, young French guy. He's kind of been doing these ultras for a couple of years now, not really sort of got it together on the biggest stage yet, but I think it's going to be coming soon. So he snuck in just under 24 hours, a couple of minutes under. So yeah, he basically just disappeared on the first climb and no one really saw him again. Sebastian Sebrewer in second there, again a really strong rider, so good to see him sort of up there at the front end of the race. And then we've got a real interesting mix, some familiar faces from kind of the ultras, others who are more kind of gravel race focused. So yeah, they're all kind of like mixed up in there. So yeah, real kind of melting pot. Quite a few ex-pros, World Tour pros, one Antonio Fletcher there, Lawrence Tendam, names you might be familiar with, David Miller. So yeah, it was really, really cool, and the track is a really great sort of festival of cycling, really, and gravel racing. You can see me there in 15th place. The first woman was Svenja Ibbett. She's actually also won the Unbound XL over in the USA. So yeah, another big result for her. And she was ahead of Cynthia Carson, a couple of hours ahead. So yeah, not a massive women's field. But yeah, good to see. I think there's 250 riders in total. So yeah, it's a well attended event. So yeah, would definitely recommend it. But yeah, I'll run you through my race now. Before I go any further, my trip to Girona was and the race was supported by MagicShine. I was using their lights. I'll be doing a bit of a review on their products. I use this Montier 3500 light. To shine through the night. Obviously I rode it non-stop, and this was great, and also their CME 300 tail light, which actually is really excellent. It's got LEDs on the back, but also you can kind of see underneath there's a bottom LED, which kind of lights up the back of your bike. Really cool feature, actually. Surprisingly good. I wasn't expecting it to be that good. But I'll do a full review of those products at a later date. I've got my bike check coming out in a few days as well. So yeah, check out MagicShine. Some good products for pretty decent prices. But onto the race itself. So as we can see, this is the route. Rather handily, class mark is supported by Ridewithgps, so all the route is on there already. And you can see the race is based around Girona. If you don't know, Girona is kind of like a mecca for cycling. A lot of World Tour pros live there. There's a growing gravel scene, some good mountain biking. To be honest, it's a bit like Disneyland sometimes. It's not really real life, and I'm kind of always pleased to go, but equally I'm very pleased to leave afterwards. It's the kind of place where you get judged by how white your white socks are when you go down the street, and yeah, to be honest, most of my white socks are not very white anymore, so I feel like I didn't fit in too much. But you can see out and back on the same sort of start finish sort of stretch, the first and last 10 miles or so, and then one sort of massive loop here. So the first part you can see it's quite mountain heavy in the foothills of the Pyrenees here, and then eventually you pick up the Traka 360. So as I already mentioned, there's 4 different distances: 100k, 200k, 360k, which is kind of the I guess the big race. And then 540, which is the new edition, which is the one I took part in. So yeah, start was 6 a.m, nice and early, and basically we all start together. Now it's supposed to be non-drafting, like a solo endeavour, but as you can see by the map, the first part is pretty flat, 250 riders going into narrow tracks, so pretty much it was a group ride for the first sort of 50k or so. There's not much you can do about it. The organisers were trying to get us to split up, but to be honest, when everyone's fresh and it's flat, there's nothing you can do. If you want it to split up, I think you really need to put a massive climbing pretty early on. You can see though from the Ridewithgps sort of map and the elevation here, the checkered, as you probably know if you've used Ridewithgps, indicates off-road or dirt, gravel in this instance. And then the solid red shows road. So you can see there's some fairly chunky road sections in there, but predominantly you're on sort of gravel tracks. They're fast rolling though. This is very much a gravel race. A mountain bike would have been useful in maybe 1 or 2 sections. But overall, I think a gravel bike was the bike for this. And you can see the first climb. We're on miles here on my Ridewithgps. So 39 miles, you start this tarmac climb. And again, the group was... It was kind of together still, but by this point, everyone had started kind of, finding their own place. A few riders here. Alex McCormick up there, of course, winner of the Atlas race. Ultimately, he's scratched. And by this point, Victor, who took the win eventually, he'd already disappeared. I think he disappeared up on this climb. No one really saw him again. There was a couple of riders. But yeah, he decided to go and is probably, 65 or so kilos. Pretty lightweight, so you can imagine that he had to really make a big gap on these climbs early on. So the first climb on tarmac stayed together, and then on this second climb, this is where it really split up. Really steep, pretty hard. It's showing as tarmac on here, but it was only just tarmac. It was kind of like a concrete road, so pretty slow going, pretty hard. And when I got to the top, I got caught by Lawrence Tendam. You can see the view. This is the valley we climbed up. It's actually a beautiful climb, lovely views. Sun was shining, probably about sort of 10, 11 a.m. by this point, so starting to get some warmth in the day. And then some really nice ascending again. You can kind of see concrete road at the top, and then it gradually sort of turns into tarmac as you hit down in the valley. You can see kind of where we're going, the snow line up there. We didn't quite reach the snow line, but we weren't far off. So yeah, really fun. I really enjoyed this section. I love being in the mountains. Living in the east of England, I just don't get much in the way of climbs. Well, I don't get any climbs really. So yeah, it's nice to kind of get settled into the long ones. And personally for me, I'm riding the Hellenic Mountain Race in a few weeks' time, which is one of the most mountainous races out there. Certainly in terms of climbing or elevation for distance. So yeah, it was good just to be able to sort of get some climbs in the legs. So you can see here, first 2 climbs, not quite 2,000 meters. I think the high point's about 2,000 meters up here, probably about 1,600 meters. Before these 2 climbs here, they weren't too bad. I think this first climb here, or first proper climb, was probably the hardest. These 2 fairly steady, actually kind of reminded me a little bit of Tour Divide, the way you climb up through the tree line. And then at the tops, there was these big kind of open kind of areas, lovely views, kind of cloud coming over a little bit, so it was nice and cool. The wind was pretty cold, mainly because you've been sweating quite a lot. But yeah, I'd say pretty much perfect conditions for riding in the mountains. A few spots of rain every now and again, but generally speaking, it was fine. So yeah, we had these two kind of long climbs, and then 100k in, you feel like you've pretty much got through the worst of the climbing, certainly the high elevation. And then you can see by the red color on the line here, really long road section. Now this it was kind of pretty welcome actually, and you can see how twisty it is. This was really cool, really nice roads, and yeah, it was really nice just to sort of get a bit of speed. So yeah, this is what you're looking at, sort of in the trees, nice and warm. As soon as we came down to lower elevations, it warmed up. And by this point in the race, everyone was kind of settling together. There was a couple of people I could see. Lawrence Tendam caught me just on this road section, or I caught back up with him, I can't remember. Either way, I got dropped again. I've noticed from a couple of people have said this, the guys who race in the World Tour, as soon as you get on a road like this and you're following their wheel, they're just going to drop you. It's like years and years and years of just following the wheel in a peloton, chasing back on down descents. It really shows it's kind of habit, and I just kept getting dropped. But it was really cool to see see these guys up close. So yeah, that kind of took us into late afternoon. In this area of Europe, it seems like the heat builds. So the hottest point was at the end of the day, and we hit this last sort of I say little climb. It looks little on the map, but it was pretty savage, very steep and very hot. And this is where kind of it started falling apart for a few people. So here I caught Marion de Saint-Exupéry. He's an experienced guy in these races. I think he just basically went out too hard and dehydrated and kind of scratched. So I passed him having a nap at the side of the road. And also I caught Juan Antonio Fletcher. Lawrence Tendam was a bit up the road, and also Noel from the Fat Pigeons. So yeah, there was a few of us pretty tight together here. So we sort of, at this point, we kind of were going back and forth over the top of this climb. And then the descent was probably a mountain bike descent, in all honesty. It wasn't that fun on a gravel bike. If you went too fast, you just basically got rattled to death. And if you went too slow, it was just, getting hit by big rocks all the time. So we had to take our time down there. I ended up with Juan Antonio Fletcher down there. And then we ended up on this sort of concrete road, which is pretty cool. And we also caught Lawrence Tendam. He seemed to be chilling a little bit. And then the three of us were together. They both stopped for a bit of a resupply. I was just trying to be really efficient. So then I ended up getting ahead as we headed back out towards the coast. Now, as I already said, the second half of the 540 takes on a lot of the route of the Traka 360. So I'd already ridden a lot of that section. And you can see on the map, as soon as you're getting out to the coast here, where I'm highlighting, that is pretty much the Traka 360, of which I'd ridden quite a lot. Now, it was worth noting, it was a bank holiday. It was a May Day bank holiday. It was a Thursday this race started, so none of the shops were really open. So it made resupply pretty difficult. So basically, at this point, I was just pushing through to the coast in the hope that I might get something at one of the more touristy towns. So yeah, I'd run out of real food by this point. I had quite a lot of energy stuff like gels and drinks, but I think the heat of the afternoon got me a bit dehydrated. So I was struggling on this flatter section, just sort of eating gels and stuff, just trying to tick over, and like my stomach wasn't really happy about it. But I knew if I got to Cadaqués, I think that's how you say it, there was a chance that I'd get kind of some cafe or restaurant just to get some real food and a resupply. I also needed enough food to see me through the night. So, although it's quite a long flat section, you've still got almost 12 hours or so to the finish. Maybe not 12, maybe 10 hours to the finish. So yeah, I knew I can get all that way through on gels. But yeah, got through to the coast, and by this point there's three or four of us sort of jumping backwards and forwards. Juan Antonio Fletcher and Lawrence Tendam and a couple of others kept overtaking me, and then like an hour or so later I'd overtake them again as they'd stop for water or maybe even a little nap. So it was a little bit confusing as to where I was, but I just sort of kept on doing my own thing. So yeah, as you go into sunset, this is the 360 route. So this is the kind of thing you're on: fast rolling gravel roads, pretty flat, just a case of keeping the gear rolling over. And I got to the coast probably about midnight. So yeah, people were out drinking and partying. There was a few little shops open. Some rather bemused cafe workers and bar workers that were dealing with a load of sweaty cyclists, just basically eating anything they could get. I think I had a bag of crisps and 2 bottles of Coke for dinner. That sort of sorted my stomach out. Just getting some salt in the system, something savoury, really helped. And also I take diarrhea sachets, rehydration sachets. They're pretty salty, but when they taste really good, it means you're dehydrated. And yeah, I had one. It tasted amazing. And after that, my body started to come round. The cooler temperatures just helped me kind of get myself back together. So yeah, this is the flat section. A lot of this Via Verde, kind of cycle paths, long, flat, straight. It wasn't too cold, probably 8 or 9 degrees. It was okay if you're moving, but if you stopped, you probably get quite cold quite quickly. And you can see here on this section, it's just flat for 240 to, nearly 50, 60 miles, pan flat, a slight headwind. Again, we were kind of like, there was 4 or 5 of us just sort of changing places as we went along, kind of ebbs and flows of energy. Not much you could do. It wasn't drafting, so we just had to ride. And then you see this final little climb back up into the Girona Valley. So yeah, I basically I got here at dawn. I got caught by Stephen. He finished just ahead of me. I thought he was ahead, but it turns out he'd gone for a nap, caught me again, and then dropped me on the flat in the final kind of 40 or so miles. But by this point, all I could do was ride my own race. But the sun came up, got some heat back in the body. I was actually feeling pretty good by this point. It's a shame it wasn't a longer race because, you know, these non-stop efforts, I'm not the best at them. I'm okay, but I prefer like 4, 5, 6, 7 days just to sort of really get in the rhythm. But yeah, beautiful morning. And yeah, rolled in the final hours and crossed the finish line. Turns out I was 15th in the end. I wasn't sure exactly. Once I finished, I saw 12th on the finish board. I also saw 14th, but then it turned out I was 15th. So yeah, the tracking could do with a bit more, a bit of an improvement for next time. But yeah, that was the Traka adventure, the Traka 540. Really good event. Would recommend it if you're, like I said, if you're into gravel racing or you're kind of curious about ultra racing. It's definitely going to be worth a go, a good introduction. So yeah, thanks for watching. Check out the race video. I've got that next episode of the Ultrascape podcast coming out in the next day or so. So we'll have a bit more in-depth discussion with Becky there. And keep an eye out for my bike check. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.